Politics isn't complicated. We like to pretend it is. It makes us feel better to pretend that it is, to pretend that it's about ideology and strategy and personality. It's not, really. It's simple. It's about deciding for yourself and as part of the community that you live in whether your country is better or worse than it was 5 years ago, and based on that decision, who you're going to trust with running it for the next 4 or 5 years. The problems Scotland faces in 2021 are not problems that have anything to do with a 12-letter word beginning with I. That is most of what we spend our time talking about. And that, regardless of what individual politicians may say, is not in the gift of any one politician to provide or prevent. The problem with Scotland is that Scotland is in the middle of a global pandemic, and that global pandemic and the measures that have been taken in order to stop it have had bad effects on the healthcare system, the education system, the economy, things that the Parliament at Holyrood has control over. And the pandemic has highlighted things that were already issues. The social care system was privatised, and the jobs in it were underpaid and undervalued. The education system had a terrible, unsustainable gap in the outcomes for people from poorer backgrounds compared to pupils from richer backgrounds. A gap that meant that Scotland's education system, once the envy of other parts of the United Kingdom, is measurably worse at getting pupils from poorer backgrounds into third-level education than England. And the healthcare system has not kept pace with developments in other parts of the UK. Never mind the crisis in drugs deaths, which are the worst anywhere in Western Europe. Or the degrading of Scottish politics and public life that has happened. The fact that what was originally set up as a consensual, family-friendly parliament that was supposed to do politics and do public life better than had been seen at Westminster has manifestly failed in its duty and failed to protect the people who work there, failed to protect civil servants and political aides from sexual assault, and failed to respect them when they have raised issues of sexual assault, and created a climate where people are not able to claim, or more accurately, that people feel unable to claim that they have been sexually assaulted because they do not have faith in the process that will then be followed. It's a parliament that has centralised services, disadvantaging particularly Highland communities. It's a parliament that's failed the transgender community, that has failed to implement a change to legislation that will manifestly improve lives and was promised in so many party manifestos last time around. These issues have been exacerbated by the pandemic. Healthcare has been stretched to breaking point. We know that. Education has been set back by the lack of face-to-face teaching. We know that as well. The economy has been massively damaged, and certain sectors have been more massively damaged than others. The question then is, what are we growing back towards? What are we growing back into? How can Scotland be sustainable? And how can Scotland deliver what the people of Scotland need in terms of better public services, in terms of a growing economy? I don't think 5 years of the status quo is good enough. I don't think it is right to reward a government that has failed on these issues time and time again with another 5 years in office. I don't think it is correct to say to a government that promised to scrap council tax, the most regressive tax in the United Kingdom, and has failed to do so, a government that parades its progressive credentials so that even people in the rest of the UK admire it, and then fails to tax higher earners when it has the opportunity to. A government that, in the words of its leader, took its eye off the ball when confronted with escalating, horrific levels of drugs deaths. I don't think it's fair or right to give them another chance. Especially when the arguments that they have spent so much time and energy making, that have led to them taking their eye off the ball, and have led to Scotland's public services failing the people that live in Scotland, need investment, and they need better leadership. I can't, in good conscience, say that they would need another 5 years. I have 2 ballot papers. I get to decide who is going to represent the area in which I live, and who is going to represent the region in which I live. The MSP who represents me is someone I am vaguely familiar with from work. In one term as an MSP, he passed a bill to give protection to shop workers who have to enforce age restrictions from assault or abuse. I think that shows a level of care and awareness of the plight that ordinary working class Scottish people face, and that's why I'm going to vote for him again. If I lived elsewhere and I had different candidates, I might make a different choice. But for that reason, I'm voting for Scottish Labour. I believe in their policies, and I believe that my MSP is the right person to help enact them. And on my regional ballot paper, I'll be voting for the Scottish Liberal Democrats, because I identify with them politically, and I've said so on this channel before, but because I also believe in their policies. I believe in the policies they've put forward for reforming the Scottish Parliament. I've believed in the policies they've put forward for tax reform, for a liberalisation of drug laws, for greater regional control of services and a fairer tax system, and for investment in the right areas, the areas that will make Scotland's economy more robust and will help it prepare for the climate emergency that we are facing. If I was not voting for those 2 parties, I would vote for the Scottish Green Party. Not because I agree with them on everything. I certainly don't agree with them on everything. But because I'm impressed by their ability to influence legislation and their proposals on public transport, on taxation, and on, of course, the environment. I don't think that the current government is working for Scotland. Regardless of what you think on the national question, I think it's fair to say that the last 5 years have fallen short of all of our expectations. I would like a better government, and that's ultimately why I'm going to vote for one. Thanks for watching, DFTBA. The land, 'twas God who made the land,